Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to episode 2 of the Entertainment Annotated podcast. Now, I'm really excited because we have some interesting things, only 3 topics today, but we have some interesting things to talk about. So the first one is the controversy surrounding Mulan and the filming that, just basically it's a very weird situation that Disney has found themselves in. Uh, Trying to adapt a movie that never needed to be adapted in the first place. I'm just going to say it up front. Mulan never needed a live action adaptation. That's like them trying to do a new live action adaptation of Pocahontas. I mean, you can, but no one's really clamoring for it. I'm not going to get into it. But anyways, the second topic is Sony announcing that they won't release any big films, either Marvel or otherwise, related in 2020, or sorry, until things clear up, which means that we might not even get anything in 2021. Films might get pushed back to 2022. So we'll talk about that. And if other studios might follow suit. And then topic number 3 is The Boys. So we're going to talk a little bit about season 2 results, in terms of it topped Mandalorian and Stranger Things, which is kind of a big deal since, The Mandalorian and Stranger Things were also huge successes. So the fact that The Boys season 2 beat those in statistics, that's a good thing. Now, getting to the first topic here. So Mulan. Disney really has put themselves in a pickle here. So Disney CFO said, and I quote, let me just put something into context in terms of a lot of the, responses to Disney shooting in certain regions that China is doing fishy things in that I'm not going to get into because in this video, I think automatically gets flagged for talking about a controversial topic. But the CFO, Christine McCarthy, says, let me put something into context. The real facts are that Mulan was primarily shot almost in entirety in New Zealand. In an effort to accurately depict some of the unique landscape and geography of the country of China for this period drama, we filmed scenery in 20 different locations in China. It's common knowledge that in order to film in China, you have to be granted permission. That permission comes from the central government. So in our credits, it recognized both China and the locations in New Zealand. I would just leave it at that. But it has generated a lot of issues for us. I think it's pretty obvious. So, for the most part, the film credits straight up thanked the publicity department of CBC and pretty much the region committee that has some very controversial camps going on and oppression to certain people. And it's just not a good look for Disney overall. And I think, the kind of response that we might see from this is, in the past, especially Disney productions have gone out of their way to bend over backwards for the Chinese market. Because it's a huge market, of course, for the worldwide grossing of films. But at the same time, they'll do things. I remember as early as Iron Man 3, they had extra bonus scenes in China. Not in China, but featuring Chinese actors that weren't in the theatrical cut for the North American and European markets. At the same time, they have removed things, changed things that maybe depicted a caricature or something that the Chinese market didn't like from past films, whether it's a remake or reinterpretation of a past story, to better appease the Chinese market. Sometimes it works out, like the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. Other times it doesn't really work out. Like I think, I don't think it wasn't Star Wars, I don't believe, but there was a movie where Black Panther, actually, well, all Marvel movies, which at this time were also under Disney, but they would change things like in the marketing materials. I think Star Wars also suffered from this. They would change things in the posters and the trailers that were shown in China because the Chinese people, let's say, they weren't super strong on a black lead actor, or just certain things aren't really as cherished. Like certain depictions of things, I believe, like ghosts or supernatural beings, spirits. There's a certain way you have to kind of approach that for different markets, like in China, if I'm not mistaken. So I could be wrong, but I remember reading about that certain things like that, sometimes you can get your film banned in China if you depict certain things a certain way in terms of like the supernatural ghosts, things like that. So I mean, Disney, for sure has been a huge market that has kind of bent over backwards to appease the Chinese market. You have other films like Pacific Rim that at times haven't done super great here, but actually in China have done super well. And I'm pretty sure the Chinese overseas market, especially, but definitely in China, played a big factor in Pacific Rim getting a sequel in Pacific Rim Uprising. So, the Chinese market has been very influential over the past few years. I just don't think it's a shock to a lot of people that have followed it. But at the same time, unfortunately with Mulan, a film that has been bathed in controversy since the lead actress, spoke out about some of the stuff happening politically over there in the East. This film just can't get a break. And I think it's really unfortunate for the people behind the film that have really good intentions. And for some of them, this might have been either their big major blockbuster break, since I know representation for those, either from, like Asia, it's not that big, which is why Shang-Chi and Crazy Rich Asians in their own respect are pretty big films in terms of that diversity and giving those actors big roles to really make a name for themselves outside of like a martial arts movie, for example. But yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate. I'm curious to see if Disney will change their tune about making films that appease the Chinese market as much as they have, since this is basically blown up in their face. I mean, they really went out of their way with Mulan to appease that market. And I don't think they've gotten any return on investment that really is worth the return on investment, just based on the controversy after controversy. And then, of course, I mean, it's not their fault that Mulan couldn't properly come out in theaters. But of course, I'm sure the controversy didn't help the film do as well as it could have done in terms of grossing. I mean, I think with all the buys the movie got, it grossed about like between 35, $40 million in grossing in terms of what the equivalency would be for our opening weekend, which if I really quickly look up the Mulan 2020 budget, let's see, it was 200 million. And then of course, it was the most expensive film ever made by a female director. I mean, that doesn't really matter in terms of this discussion. But another thing I think also at the same time is, with Mulan, they tried changing things for the market as well. Like Mushu went away, right? It was a fan favorite character, the dragon voiced by Eddie Murphy in the animated film, replaced it with a phoenix that had a much more minor role as like the guardian of Mulan. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they try to appease certain markets like that again in the future with some of these live action remakes. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what kind of comes out of that, the fallout, if you will, from that. And if, I don't think Mulan will get a sequel, but Disney is going to try keep, remaking these films, remaking these animated films in live action since they're just cash cows. And, Disney being the bank of creativity they are, they're going to capitalize on it. So I'm curious to see how this progresses going forward. But getting into our second top, and I almost went right in. Let me know what you guys think. Did you guys like Mulan? Did you guys watch Mulan? And in terms of the controversy going on in China, and as respectful a way as you guys can, what do you guys think of it? Do you guys think this is something that the entertainment industry as a whole should learn from? Or do you think that this is just kind of like a unique, unorthodox situation and other films that either film in China? I mean, Shang-Chi I'm looking at, right? Like what is going to happen with Shang-Chi in terms of like if they do a similar thing where they just film certain things in China to give it more of a geographical, like feel more faithful because the characters I think are supposed to be in China during the movie. Are they going to have similar, will Shang-Chi have similar issues? I'm curious about stuff like that, for example. But, and thanks for listening to the entire podcast. If you want to hear it, not in the video segments, but entire audio format, check it out on platforms like SoundCloud and Spotify where it's uploaded. Link should be in the description. If not, just leave a comment and I'll gladly post the link. But yeah, thanks for watching. And with all that said and done, it's my third podcast of the day I recorded. So hopefully I don't sound too fatigued, but I will see you guys later.